This video explores British fashion trends of the 1950s that defined an era. If this brings back memories, please let us know where you're watching from in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more nostalgic journeys through British history. British fashion trends of the 1950s that defined an era Part 1. The 1950s dawned on Britain with rationing still fresh in memory, yet it became one of the most transformative decades for British fashion we've ever seen. After years of make do and mend, a new generation was ready to express themselves through what they wore. When Christian Dior's new look arrived in Britain around 1947, it took several years before everyday women could afford it. By 1950, fabric rationing had finally ended, and suddenly those nipped-in waists and full skirts felt possible. A typical new-look dress required 15 yards of fabric, a luxury after years of restriction. You'd find young women saving their wages for weeks to buy a single dress from C&A or Marks and Spencer. A ready-made cotton dress cost about 30 shillings in 1952, nearly a week's wage for many shop girls. But the transformation felt worth every penny when you swished past Woolworths in a full-circle skirt. British high streets began to change dramatically as fashion became more accessible. Shops like Dorothy Perkins opened their doors in 1951, bringing affordable versions of Parisian styles to working-class women. These weren't cheap copies either. They were beautifully made garments that could last for years with proper care. The petticoat revolution swept through Britain's dance halls and living rooms alike. To achieve that perfect silhouette, women wore layers of stiffened net petticoats underneath their skirts. Some girls owned 5 or 6, each one starched to within an inch of its life in the kitchen sink. Your mother might remember the peculiar ritual of starching petticoats with sugar water when proper starch ran low. The sticky sweet smell mixed with the anticipation of Saturday night dances at the local palais. These petticoats cost anywhere from 10 to 25 shillings, depending on the fullness and quality. British women embraced the femininity of the era with remarkable enthusiasm. Waist cinchers and girdles became essential undergarments, even for younger women. The average waist measurement aimed for was 23 inches, though most British women naturally measured closer to 26 or 27. Department stores like Selfridges and Harrods created entire sections dedicated to foundation garments. A quality corset from Burley or Spirla might cost £2 10 shillings, but saleswomen assured customers it was an investment. These weren't comfortable by modern standards, but they created the silhouette that defined the decade. Nylon stockings represented freedom and glamour after years of drawing seams up bare legs with eyebrow pencils. When nylons became readily available in British shops around 1950, women queued for hours. A single pair cost about 4 shillings, and you'd guard them carefully against snags and runs. The ritual of washing stockings by hand every evening became as routine as brushing your teeth. You'd see them draped over bathroom radiators in homes across Britain, drying ready for the next day. Some women still kept their wartime gravy browning in case of emergencies, just in case. British teenagers began to emerge as a distinct market for the first time in the 50s. Before this decade, you essentially dressed like a small adult. But suddenly, shops recognized that young people wanted their own style, something that horrified their parents in the most delightful way. The rise of rock and roll from America influenced British youth fashion enormously. Teddy boys appeared on London streets wearing draped jackets and drainpipe trousers, a look inspired by Edwardian tailors. These working-class lads spent enormous sums on their outfits, sometimes £30 or more for a full ensemble. You could spot a Teddy boy from 100 yards away with his velvet-trimmed jacket from tailors like Michael's of Clapham. The whole outfit included thick-soled crepe shoes, called brothel creepers, which cost about £3 from specialist shoemakers. Parents worried themselves sick over their sons, joining this controversial subculture. Meanwhile, British women's daywear developed its own distinctive character. The twin set became the uniform of respectable middle-class ladies across the country. Pringle and Bremer produced beautiful cashmere versions, though most women bought wool blends from British home stores for around 25 shillings. Pearls completed the look, whether real or the excellent Majorca imitations available for a few shillings. Princess Margaret and the young Queen Elizabeth popularized this conservative yet elegant style. You'd see it everywhere from church services to coffee mornings at the Women's Institute. British tailoring maintained its world-famous reputation throughout the decade. Savile Row continued to dress gentlemen in impeccable suits, but high street tailors also thrived. Burton's offered made-to-measure suits for ordinary working men at around £12, payable in installments. The British man's wardrobe remained remarkably formal by today's standards. You'd wear a suit to the office, a suit to church, even a suit for Sunday lunch. Casual clothing barely existed for men over 30. A sports jacket and flannels represented the height of relaxation for most British gents. The transformation of British footwear in the 50s tells its own fascinating story. Women's shoes became works of art, with pointed toes and kitten heels replacing the sensible wartime styles. Dalsis and Saxon shops lined every high street, offering court shoes for around 35 shillings a pair. British women owned far fewer shoes than we do today, perhaps 3 or 4 pairs at most. You'd have your best court shoes for special occasions, a pair of sturdy walking shoes, and maybe some summer sandals. Each pair was expected to last several years, with regular trips to the cobbler for new heels and soles. The stiletto heel arrived in Britain around 1953, causing absolute havoc with wooden floors and aircraft steps. Dance halls across the country posted notices banning them due to the damage they caused. Despite this, British women adored them, tottering along pavements in 3-inch heels that today's generation would find impossible. Rainwear became surprisingly fashionable during this decidedly British decade. Aquascutum and Burberry produced beautiful raincoats that transformed dreary weather into an opportunity for style. A quality gabardine Mac cost anywhere from £5 to £10, a significant investment that most women saved for carefully. The Macintosh belt, tied just so, created that coveted small waist even in the pouring rain. You'd see office workers streaming across London Bridge in matching beige raincoats, looking remarkably elegant despite the typical British weather. Some women coordinated their rain bonnets with their coats, creating complete ensembles. British accessories reached new heights of importance during the 50s. No outfit was complete without proper gloves, a handbag, and a hat. Glove counters at department stores offered dozens of styles, from everyday cotton ones at 2 shillings to elegant kid leather for special occasions at 15 shillings. The ritual of choosing gloves was taken seriously. Sales assistants would help you find the perfect fit, measuring your hand and suggesting appropriate lengths for different occasions. Short gloves for daytime, longer ones for evening wear. You'd never dream of leaving the house without them. British handbag manufacturers like Launer thrived during this decade. Women needed bags large enough to carry all those accessories, plus a compact, lipstick, and often a rain scarf. A good leather handbag cost between £2 and £5, and you'd treasure it for years. The hat industry experienced its final golden age in 50s Britain. Milliners on every high street created small masterpieces from felt, straw, and feathers. A simple felt hat cost about 15 shillings, while elaborate creations for weddings might reach £3 or more. Women wore hats everywhere, from shopping trips to church services. The Queen's coronation in 1953 sparked a particular frenzy of hat buying across Britain. Every woman wanted something special to wear for street parties and celebrations, even if they only watched on a neighbor's television set. Evening wear in 50s Britain reflected the decade's love of glamour and formality. British women dressed up for the cinema, the theater, even for dinner at home if guests were expected. Cocktail dresses in taffeta or velvet became essential wardrobe items for anyone with a social life. You could hire evening gowns from specialist shops if you couldn't afford to buy. Moss Bros wasn't just for men's formal wear. They offered beautiful gowns for around 10 shillings per wear, allowing working-class women to attend fancy occasions without breaking the bank. British textile mills produced gorgeous fabrics throughout the decade. Liberty of London's prints became internationally famous, adorning everything from dresses to headscarves. A length of Liberty lawn cost about 12 shillings per yard, expensive, but considered the height of good taste. Many British women still made their own clothes or employed local dressmakers. Sewing patterns from Simplicity and Butterick cost just a shilling or two, and you could create an entire wardrobe for less than buying ready-made. Village halls ran dressmaking classes, where women shared skills and fabric scraps. The rise of man-made fabrics changed British fashion forever. Crimpling appeared towards the end of the decade, promising clothes that never needed ironing. British women greeted this development with enormous enthusiasm. After years of laboring over cotton with heavy flat irons, the idea of wash and wear seemed miraculous. Turreline and nylon blends began appearing in everything from blouses to summer frocks. These fabrics weren't always flattering or particularly comfortable, especially in hot weather. But the convenience factor outweighed any discomfort for busy housewives managing homes without modern appliances. British children's fashion finally emerged as its own category during the 50s. Before this, children essentially wore miniature adult clothing, but shops like Mothercare, founded in 1961, followed a trend that began in the late 50s of designing specifically for young bodies and active play. Little girls wore full-skirted dresses just like their mothers, often with matching ribbons in their hair. Boys graduated from shorts to long trousers around age 13, a rite of passage eagerly anticipated. School uniforms became standardized, with most British children wearing gray or navy throughout the decade. The influence of American culture on British fashion grew stronger as the decade progressed. Images from Hollywood films showed British audiences a more casual, relaxed style. James Dean's rebellious look in Rebel Without a Cause inspired countless British teenagers to adopt denim and leather. Yet British fashion maintained its own distinct character throughout the 50s. We took American influences and made them thoroughly British, adding our own sense of propriety and craftsmanship. The decade ended with Britain poised to lead the fashion revolution that would explode in the 60s, when London became the world's style capital.